Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of ZB's Horsepower Talk. As always, I'm ZB, Zach Brown, and joining with me, as always, is former 410 Sprint Car crew chief and mechanic, my dad, Jeff Brown. Atlanta has finished up in the NASCAR Sprint Cup. Oh, NASCAR Cup Series. That's a flashback from the old days. The NASCAR Cup Series. And Atlanta put on a great show. This was way better than Daytona, so not as much of a soapbox from us this week on the poor racing because it was good racing. A lot of it had to do with that the track's worn and you actually have to drive this track, and everything comes up very quickly. Shorter race, shorter stages, and it was good all the way around. All of the series had really good racing in Atlanta. As I expected, it was going to be a good show.
Yeah, like I said, it was. I think the final number came out to 50 lead changes in the race, which was crazy. And it was nice. Like if you were running up front and you got out of line, you dropped back, and if your car was good, 5, 6 laps, you were right back up it again. Daytona, you got in the line, you were screwed. You weren't going nowhere. All the cars were exactly the same. So this was a good show. I hats off to NASCAR for having a good show. Way too many commercials, so we'll get on that right now. But
Well,
the show itself, it's like they're battling for the lead, and we're going to flash to a freaking Toyota thing with I don't remember who it was. Like, what the hell is that?
uh, Christopher Bell prevails in at the
Yep.
end of the race. And a lot of people, there was about 50-50 people that were mad about the caution getting thrown at the end. As bad as that wreck was getting right there, I think you probably had to call that because they still weren't done crashing when the caution was coming out, and there's still people still passing all of that. So the way it was wrecking, I understand how they threw the caution, but without letting them race to the finish. I think it shocked a
I
lot of
don't know
us
if that
that
would have mattered.
no. Well, I don't know. Hocevar had a really good run out of nowhere going into that. I mean, they could have beaten Bang to the finish line. It would have been another classic Atlanta finish, but I mean, it still ended up being close when they threw the caution. Christopher Bell prevails. I don't think a lot of people expected a Toyota, specifically Christopher Bell, to come out with a win at Atlanta. That's his first drafting track win. He's always been decent at those tracks. He always finishes in the top 10, top 5, kind of just sneaks his way up there. And he did it once again. And I think that was the only lap he led, was the last one.
But more importantly, do you know who had Christopher Bell in their fantasy?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, none of us picked. No, I didn't even think a Toyota would win. I thought Ford, and Ford was the class of the field. They
Yep.
were the fastest cars. Once again, they were the fastest at Daytona in the drafting. They were fastest at Atlanta. But the fastest
And
cars
they
don't
work
always
so
win.
well together. Like the Chevy guys, just it don't matter. They will not work together. The Ford guys, it don't matter if you're teammates or just another Ford. They will stick together until they need to pass somebody. It's I don't know why the Chevy camp. It's been that way for years. They just absolutely, even like the Hendricks and RCR car, they will not work with their own teammates. I don't know why.
Well, the one driver that was looking to get his first drafting track win, Kyle Larson, led with the with two to go. And as soon as I saw him not block the top lane, which he had room. I don't know if there was miscommunication with the
Mm.
spotter. He could have easily went up top and blocked him. He had more room than when he tried to block Cindric earlier in the race that ended up causing that wreck. He could have easily blocked Christopher. I think with them racing each other in dirt racing, having a lot of respect with each other, I think that had a lot to do with Larson not forcing the issue too much on that. But that ultimately costed him the race. And then Carson Hocevar was out there pulling Chastains and pissing people off. And
Yeah,
ironically, Chastain was
you
one
know
of them.
what? He didn't do nothing wrong.
Well, he did
I
put.
think Larson probably thought the Chevy was going to go with him,
Well,
and it
that's
did.
not why people were mad. The people were mad.
No, 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 no. But I mean, he was aggressive. I mean,
Well,
but he didn't crash nobody.
the one with specifically with Ryan Blaney. I understand Blaney's being upset with him. He pushed him the whole way going into the corner, and you just can't be bump drafting into a corner. It just those cars will lose control like it did on Blaney. And Joey Logano's been one of those that's been aggressive pushing people in the corner. People get pissed off at that too. Uh, Hocevar has not been as aggressively quote unquote dirty, I guess. like when he was in the Truck Series, where he was just flat out wrecking
Yeah.
people left and right. He has cleaned up his stuff. He was just being aggressive. I mean, this is one these type of tracks are going to be his best opportunity to get wins.
Right.
The cars look Spire Motorsports cars look good. The Chevys, they came out of nowhere at the end, and then randomly a Toyota just bounced up there at the end. But once 2 weeks in a row, Ford is the fastest all weekend long through 2.5 stages, and all of a sudden they're out of the race. And then looking ahead this week, we'll see what manufacturer does best in practice qualifying and if it actually transitions to the race, because right now it doesn't seem like it matters, but we're getting into different style racing coming up this week.
Big
Uh,
time different style.
and how about RCR in the Xfinity Series, back-to-back Speedway wins, and Austin Hale he's just so good at this
He's
type of
super
racing.
good at that. I mean, it's
I'm
just
surprised he doesn't get a random cup ride at these tracks to see how he can do at
as
those.
good as he is with them, for
Yeah,
sure.
shoot, RCR field a third team just to see what he can do, just a couple races a year. I think he's earned his right to move up to the Cup Series. He's shown that he can race with anybody. Give him an opportunity. But again, it's all about money in the sport, and maybe he just
Yeah.
doesn't bring a lot of the sponsorship. I don't know. He's a heck of a racer. I'd like to see him in the Cup Series more than some of the people that are in the series right now. Um, but yeah, good racing all around. The truck race was good, with Kyle Busch getting a photo finish at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was hell
That
of
the last
that was some ballsy racing that Kyle was doing in the truck series. That was good.
yeah, those last, I don't know, 10, 15 laps or so, somebody would get a run on Kyle, pull in front of him, he'd get the run right back. He was not going to let them lead the lap. So that was pretty good. That was, and you know what, Kyle Busch getting freaking cheered in victory lane is the weirdest thing you think you'd ever see.
I think the fans were just impressed. Like, that was really good racing. It was really impressive. I think all weekend long. I'd like Atlanta turned out to be like I'd actually like to go see a race in Atlanta
I,
now.
I would go to Atlanta
And I've
before
never
I go to
said that
Daytona
because
right
before
now.
it used to be just a cookie cutter mile-and-a-half track, and like at this point, like Texas, I don't want to go see Texas. That's a boring race. But
Yeah,
Texas might want to consider making a change like Atlanta did and make it another speedway race, because those speedway races are better than Daytona and Talladega. Really, they
yeah.
really are, and it
So
has a lot to.
nobody was saving fuel really,
You
and
couldn't really
trying.
save fuel with that. Everything happened so fast.
Yeah, that's saving fuel. That's just dumb.
Well,
I
Christopher
mean, I
Bell,
get it. I get it. It's smart racing, but
ironically, well, that's what they have to do. But ironically, Christopher Bell's the one that was so critical on the speedway racing. Said it sucks, it's stupid. Nobody wants to watch 90% of a race
yeah, that he
be
wins. He
killed.
goes, I love speedway
Yeah.
racing.
So yeah, uh, yeah. Atlanta proved once again speedway racing's where it needs to be at. Well, it seems like most mile-and-a-half tracks these cars do well at. So like Charlotte
Yep.
is going to do well at, Kansas and Las Vegas, Texas. You can't fix that because that track. I don't know what happened. That track just
I
sucks
don't
now.
know what happened
The
either.
drivers hate it now. It used to be good racing at Texas. Now it just sucks. Xfinity
Yeah,
puts on good races, but just
yeah.
the
I
Cup
mean,
is boring.
Vegas is usually a pretty good race.
Yeah, Vegas is great. I'd like to see. I'd like to see more new mile-and-a-half tracks maybe get built, and sort of shifting into what Charlotte and Atlanta kind of gives you, and get away from the Texas thing, or just reconfigure Texas back to what it needs to be. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know.
Uh, well, let's look ahead at COTA this weekend. Circuit of the Americas, the first road course. So NASCAR starts off with two speedway races, and then they go into a road course. So what a crazy, crazy start of a year that NASCAR is giving these drivers, these teams. Is a curveball every 3 weeks in a row now. It's not just a normal, hey, go out of the track and see which car is the fastest car, because the fast car is not always going to win on these three tracks. Circuit of America, that used to be a humongous, enormous road course. They changed how the course is going to be run. It's a mile shorter now.
Yeah,
That's going to change things up tremendously, and I think it's going to give a lot better racing at this point.
yeah, I think so. I think it was almost a 4 mile course, which in my mind it seems like that should be neat, but it just seems like it just takes so long for the cars to make it around. So I think we're down closer to 2.5 mile. track now, so I think that's going to be neat. But there's the other part of the curveball. None of these guys have any notes on this on the shorter course. I don't know what part gets cut off or anything like that. How much difference it makes, but it's bound to change. Shift points and how you're going to gear the thing and different things like that. So I think it's going to be interesting.
Fuel
And then you never know
conservation.
what weather could play a factor as well.
And fuel conservation, now they don't really know where to save the fuel properly, and now it's a whole different beast out there. And yeah, we'll see what weather does. It won't rain. We're not there. But
But
even if it
I
does,
like that. It's a beautiful track. I mean,
well,
it's
even if it
really
does, as long as it doesn't piss rain like the first time they went to COTA a few years ago, they'll be fine. Where it was literally a monsoon that
yeah,
happened.
that was nasty.
COTA's a good track. It's one of the better road courses. It's not one I really get on a rant about, like why do we have this? I think it's all right. I'm okay with it, and I like it being a curveball to start off the year, and I like that
Yeah,
them
it's kind of
adding,
neat.
and I like them adding some road courses in the playoffs, throwing another wrench into that. I'm still always going to vouch for just Sonoma and Watkins Glen, but I mean, I digress. But again, Coda, it's not one I'm going to get too mad about. It generally does. It comes down to usually two or three players at the very end.
Yeah,
They'll get tight. They'll get tight. Somebody will run through somebody, Chastain, and
and
see who can
randomly,
actually prevail.
yep.
And
Like I said,
it's
the fastest car in the last three races, I think the whole thing did not win that race. So
now the interesting thing. One driver that is racing this week is Connor Zilic. And if you would not believe this, but he is the second odds-on favorite to win the race
I believe it.
in a debut race for the Cup Series. I have never
Oh,
seen it.
he's running in the Cup
The Cup
Series.
Series. He is the second favorite in the Cup
Who's
Series.
he running for?
I'm not sure. It might be Spire or some affiliate right there. I'm
Okay.
not exactly sure, but
Okay. That
he's
I did not know that. I thought you were talking about Xfinity. I was like, yeah, he probably is the favorite for
no, he's
Xfinity.
probably the favorite in Xfinity, but no, he is
Yeah.
the second
Huh.
favorite. The 87 car, and it looks like it's going to be Trackhouse. It looks like it's the same font. Yeah. It's going to be the fourth Trackhouse car that they put in. I figure it had to be a Chevy since he's a Chevy in Xfinity. Uh, I I would not expect now the favorite to win this is SVG. Uh,
Yeah.
Shocker. I mean, he's a great road course racer,
Yeah.
street course, whatever it is. And these cars are similar to what he came from in Australia, and he proved that in his first race in Chicago and just whipped everybody. And we'll see what he can do in this. I'm not sure if he will win, but I'm going to be willing to say that a Chevy wins this weekend. They are just,
A chance of it.
besides maybe Tyler Reddick, every road course racer that is really good is a Chevy. Now there's a couple of Ford sprinkled here and there, but I fully expect a Chevy to be back in victory lane here this weekend. I was wrong last week when I said a Ford was going to win, but we'll see. And I think the week before I had a different one too. No, I actually did have a Chevy in the Daytona 500, so at least I had that right. Well, let's give our NASCAR fantasy for COTA, and then we'll give our pick, and then we're going to preview the IndyCar premiere for the season. So go ahead with your lineup in NASCAR fantasy for Circuit of the Americas.
So, and just disclaimer, I am leading fantasy. That
By
doesn't
five
happen much,
points.
so I'm going to
By
get
five
that out
points.
here right now. So anyway, my starters, I have Tyler Reddick, Kyle Larson, Alex Bowman, AJ Allmendinger, SVG, and in my garage, this might be sort of random, he's a good road course racer, Ty Gibbs. In our head-to-head matchups, Christopher Bell versus Tyler Reddick, I have Tyler Reddick. Ty Gibbs versus Alex Bowman, I have Bowman. Dinger versus Chase Elliott, that's an interesting one there. I did pick Dinger on that one. And Shane Van Gisbergen versus Ross Chastain is another interesting one. So I'm going to stick with SVG on that one.
All right, my lineup is kind of similar to yours. So I am going with my starters as Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Ross Chastain, Tyler Reddick, AJ Allmendinger, and in my garage is SVG. In the featured matchups, they're almost identical to yours. Christopher Bell versus Tyler Reddick. I have Tyler Reddick on that one. Ty Gibbs versus Alex Bowman. I picked Bowman. I don't know why. I just feel like Bowman's going to have a good run
Bowman's a
here.
good road racer.
Yeah. He won
That's why I got
Watkins
him in my
Glen, I think,
5.
at one point. AJ Allmendinger versus Chase Elliott. This is where I'm different from you. I picked Chase Elliott. And SVG versus Ross Chastain. I did pick SVG over Chastain. But I think Trackhouse is going to have a good run this weekend. The hot pick is the best one they have right now is Ross Chastain, and I think that is actually a pretty good betting favor for those who want to sprinkle some. William Byron, I think it's going to be a tale of Chevys in this. I really do. And he did win the race last year, so that's probably why it's a hot pick.
24 car on a road course, hard to go against that one.
Yeah, it says avoid Denny Hamlin. I think
he's a good road course racer.
But I think with all the options that you have in this, I think it's just hard to really put Denny in. Save him for one of your 1.5 mile tracks, or almost literally any other track. It says avoid Brad Keselowski. I think they said this last year, and he finished like second at Sonoma or something. It was it was this type of thing. And the sleeper's Chris Buescher, so I don't really know how your sleeper as Chris Buescher, and then Keselowski says completely avoid.
The sleeper's always Chris Buescher, I think.
90% of the races, Chris Buescher's the sleeper.
It sure seems like it.
Again, I wouldn't put him in the lineup. I think the drivers that we've said is pretty safe bet to put in any type of lineup. They're all going to be in contention to race. Now they're all going to blow.
I'm sorry, guys.
So if you guys want to just fade what we just did and the featured matchups just opposite us, that's probably the best idea on that. So let's give our picks to win the race at Circuit of the Americas. So go ahead with your pick.
So I know we talked about Chevys being fast, but I actually have Toyota. I got Tyler Reddick winning the race. Mom's pick is AJ Allmendinger.
Well, I'm sticking with my theme of Chevys. I think Chevy's going to have a very dominant performance this weekend, and I'm picking him. I apologize because I'm probably going to jinx him, but I am picking Kyle Larson to win at Circuit of the Americas.
Sorry, Kyle.
I apologize, Larson. I'm so sorry. I had to pick you sooner or later.
Yeah.
Now, let's switch over to a different series. IndyCar makes their debut on Fox and in 2025 at St. Pete.
That's right. They're on Fox.
Yes, they are. So now they can do a double header for the Indy 500 and the 600. So Fox is about to make some decent money that day.
Yeah. So
especially if they show 5 trillion commercials in each one.
Oh yeah, they will.
Definitely.
Yeah, the IndyCar's at St. Pete, street course / airport course because they run down the runway, which is pretty cool.
It's always cool.
And it's it's really pretty. I like where the track is. It's right along the water, so there's going to be boats out there. Poor man's Monaco. But it's neat. I mean, it's a huge draw down here in Florida. I mean, the place is going to be sold out, and it's usually pretty exciting racing. It was a heck of a race last year, if I remember correctly. And this is one of the better street courses. They got some real nice high speed area, especially going down that runway. So they get pretty good speed. So a lot of places to pass in this one. I think this is going to be a fun race.
Well, Pato's the defending winner of this race. And if I'm not mistaken, he led almost every lap, but it actually was competitive throughout the field. If this is the race I'm thinking of, I think a lot of them were similar to that. Like there was somebody that would just dominate leading every lap or almost every lap.
I think they were catching him real quick there at the end and just kind of ran out of laps or pushed pass or something.
Yeah, Will Power came up just short of it. And then the surprise of the whole season last year, Colton Herta got his first podium of the year. And of course, you got Alex below. But of course, they have the favorite right now is Joseph Newgarden. Well, he didn't even finish the race last year. He wrecked
The
out.
Penske cars were disqualified.
That's right. That's what it was. Oh, he might have finished second in that race, or
Yeah, it might have been. Yeah, and the Penske cars were disqualified for I don't remember what exactly, but
yeah.
they were
But
disqualified.
the two Penske's are the favorites right now, and based on what we saw last year, not surprising that they're going to open up as the favorites in this. He and Scott McLaughlin are the favorites, and then the defending winners right after him, and then you go to Colton and then Alex. And I wonder who the longest shot is. Probably someone I've never heard of. Oh my God, who is that? Jacob Abel. No idea. Never heard of
Yeah,
him
I
in my
don't know
life.
most of these guys.
Stingray Bob is a long shot.
That's a badass name.
Yeah, I want to know what his real name is. Stingray Rob, not Bob.
Yeah, whatever.
Well, I mean Rob Bob, it's okay. Uh yeah, so we're gonna preview like this and give picks for IndyCar races because there's not a whole heck of a lot of them. So it's a lot less than what 100 outlaw races, 100 some
Yeah.
outlaw races and stuff.
Yeah, they only got what 24 races or whatever every
Yeah, so
couple
you
weeks.
actually had better luck picking winners for IndyCar than I did last year. I didn't get I don't know if I got any right last year.
Yeah, I hit a
So
few.
so let's see how we can start off our IndyCar preview, and let's give a dark horse for a championship for a champion as well. One that's not going to be Scott McLaughlin or Joseph Newgarden, the ones that you really expect to really dominate the year. And there's probably about 5 drivers that have a chance to win the championship overall. Probably the ones I just listed, the 5, not Stingray
Pretty
Rob,
much, yeah, I would think.
but it doesn't even have to be dark horse. Who do you think has the best chance to win the championship this year?
Yeah, if we're going to pick somebody with maybe longer, I would say Colton Herta. I think that would
I
be,
I and I think I said this last year. I think Colton Herta is going to be running for a championship this
yeah,
year. I think he's going to do really well. It just all comes down to can he limit the bad races, the bad luck.
yeah. I was sort of torn between him and Ferrucci.
Some
Mamma
gabagool.
mia!
Yeah. Santino was impressive. He just didn't have the speed consistently.
He was
He would
probably
run.
better on the ovals
Yeah, you would see
at
him
the
run
dirt
top
course.
5, and then you'd see him run out of the top 15. It's like no in between right there. So for sure, I think he can run really well. He was really good on the ovals. That was
Yeah,
really impressive. He can clean it up on the road courses and street courses. He's got a shot. But yeah, I think Colton Hurd is going to be he is. He's my pick to win the championship this year. I was really impressed with Colton. I think a lot of people were. They didn't expect him to do so well. And again, it'll come down to about 2 to 3 people in about August. And this is a traditional.
the championship got pretty exciting at
Well,
the end last year.
this is the traditional point system, and IndyCar I think's had this since the beginning of time. They've never changed it. And some years, yeah, it'll be snoozers, but then you get years it's like, well, damn, it's pretty close. I,
Well, there's not as many races. I think it works a little better for that.
and I think we've been saying this. I don't think NASCAR needs to be 9 months.
Right.
It
Yeah, I
doesn't need
agree.
to be that long, and it doesn't need to be this many races, or you can
It's
condense
just
it
all
by
TV money.
well, you can condense it by making a midweek race at smaller local tracks ish, uh, like Wilkesboro and where the Clash was, and at Bowman Gray and
Iowa, yeah.
everything. Yeah, I mean, you could just do like a Thursday night, make that Thursday night Thunder, make that an extra race. I liked when they combined the Pocono races and did 2 in 1 weekend.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
And when they did, it was during COVID, but they Darlington races when they did 2 in a weekend there, that was cool. They knocked out two races. That was
The
awesome.
cars already, especially when they're close to the shop.
Because
They didn't want
I'm
to do two West Coast
and I
things,
get it. They want it to go into the NFL season because of TV rights. Because if when they're on NBC, it goes right into Sunday Night
Yeah.
Football. But now they're kind of going away from all of these different. Now they just have streaming. That they're going to have Prime, which qualifying on Prime was very convenient. I like that. When the broadcast crew actually comes in from the
Yeah.
old NBC, that'll be good. But I I'm in the opinion that it needs to end when IndyCar does in the middle of September. I think that would be enough, and I think a lot of drivers are behind that.
Once football gets going, people
Chase
are
Elliott's
kind
been Chase
they've
Elliott's been
kind of had
very
enough.
Chase Elliott's been very vocal on it. So is Denny Hamlin. A lot of those drivers and any of the drivers that have podcasts, they've been very vocal on that's when it needs to pretty much be over. That way, people are more prone to watch your stuff because we still follow it, but we
But
are
there's so
really
much going on. You know, you got your high school football on Fridays, you got college games on Saturdays, and then you get the pro game. You know, it's a lot. I catch myself watching more football on the weekend than I will the race.
especially like you scroll through some college football and they're pretty um they got some exciting games on the
Yeah,
college football and
it's
shoot
just you get that time. It's like, all right, I've seen enough racing. I'm good.
yeah, like when IndyCar and it with IndyCar and NHRA, they're not every single week, so you don't get burnout from
Yeah,
the product every week. And it's exciting now. It's going to be exciting through August, and then it's just like, all right, I'm pretty much done.
yeah. Because we got
Um,
what 6 straight months of it, and it's like, okay,
yeah, and if they can
time
somehow
for
condense it,
something new.
yeah. All right, enough of the rant. Let's actually give our pick for the go back to IndyCar.
Yeah,
That was quite a tangent that we went off there.
it happens.
Let's give our pick for the IndyCar season premiere at St. Pete. Who do you have winning at St. Pete?
You'd like to think the Penske cars, but I'm going to go out on a slight limb, very slight. Alex Palou.
Well, he had a solid finish there last year, and he was
Yeah,
one of the best on all the road courses. I'm going with the driver that finished so strong last year and had a I mean, he started off poor and then came out of nowhere to make a run at the championship. Will Power is my pick
well, and if
for
he wasn't disqualified at the beginning of the year,
well, Will Power's my pick for St. Pete to open it up. He had a strong run to end last year. I expect him to have carry that momentum on into this year. IndyCar should be good, and we're not going to preview it, but sprint car action is back at Volusia once
yeah,
again. They always take like a week or two off after the
World
initial one,
Outlaws.
and yep, and
It's
they
randomly Sunday and Monday. It's during like bike week or whatever there in Daytona.
it draws a big crowd. I know that,
Yeah,
and
and you know what? If the races were like they were when they were last time at Volusia, they were great.
well, the difference is there's not going to be a Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson at this one.
Right.
So those two won't be there to put on a show. So now you got the Outlaw guys to see if they can um, make a mark themselves. I mean, you had Macedo do pretty well, and then Donnie Schatz will qualify last and end up like fifth, like
Yeah.
always.
They
But
had a
yeah,
lot of engine problems.
yeah. Well, now an Outlaw's probably going to win at least this weekend. That's their chance.
Yeah,
I know we've said time and time again, if Larson and Christopher Bell race in the Outlaws, they'd be those two for the championship. It wouldn't even be
probably.
close. It wouldn't even be close. They, I don't think it'd be any competition. That's just why there's a reason they're in. It's the
Yeah,
highest echelon of racing.
yeah, they're freaking good.
But I think that does it for this week. So yeah, make sure you guys check out our NASCAR fantasy and tail fade it, whatever you want to do. I think they're actually pretty solid lineups, and we'll see. I don't think it's going to change lap by lap, but like we've been
Yeah, I
seeing,
know that was stressful.
and especially when you get to the end of stage two, when you can put your garage in or not, it's like I don't know. So
Yeah, it's like I already used
again,
my garage, and then they kept crashing. I'm like, damn it.
Well, I was hesitant to put Chase Elliott in there because I've already used him once. I like to save him throughout the year, but
That's why I didn't put him in yet. I'm like, okay, we're going to
but
leave
I
him
do
out.
do have SVG if one of these has an issue in this race, so I think it's a good insurance. But we'll see. So he takes the win in Texas this weekend. Make sure you guys follow anywhere you get your podcasts, like, subscribe, check out the YouTube channel. You can see me getting frustrated at squirrel bags and iRacing, and you can see my iRacing streams. And we'll be back in action next week, and I'll be down there seeing you at the end of next week. And NHRA is back at it. Tempting to go to it, but yeah, NHRA is back next week.
We got a little bit going on here next week.
Yeah, a little bit, but it's going to be NHRA is back, so some more to talk about. And we'll see how it goes in COTA for us. So see you guys then.
All right, bye.